Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Activision Blizzard's quality assurance workers once again in the news, the Lost Ark content roadmap for the next couple of months, Diablo 3's last-minute Season 26 change that changes everything, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Now, before we move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor, NordVPN. A VPN is an important tool for keeping your data secure and encrypted on the internet, and I don't dare connect to public Wi-Fi without first enabling my VPN. You can also use a VPN to get around region block content by picking a server in a different country, and NordVPN has over 5,400 servers in 59 different countries. And it's so user-friendly that you're basically one click away from hiding your IP or browsing the web from a different country. And one account lets you connect up to 6 devices, be they computers, phones, tablets, you name it. And NordVPN has just launched a new cybersecurity feature on their desktop app, Threat Protection. Once enabled, Threat Protection will protect you against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even when you are not connected to a VPN server. It'll scan files you download and automatically detect and delete malware. It'll block intrusive and malicious ads, and it'll even ensure your privacy by stopping hidden website trackers from building a profile on you. So, take control of your internet experience today with NordVPN. Right now, you can get a 2-year plan at a huge discount, plus 1 additional month for free when you go to nordvpn.com/Rhykker. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/RHYKKER, or click the link in the description below. We'll kick things off this week with the return of a feature we've done once before, which is a viewer comment of the week. We'll do these periodically, and this week's viewer comment comes from All Caps in response to my question about whether you folks still care about E3 in light of it being canceled this year. All Caps says, quote, "I used to love E3 because it was just one whirlwind of news you could always look forward to. No matter what, you were going to get bombshell after bombshell of new games, updates on games you'd forgotten about, and video of upcoming games you were excited about. Slowly over the years, it just got less and less amazing. Eventually, it felt less like the unleashing of carefully guarded secrets, and more just like a string of commercials that you already knew were coming." And I'll add to his point that in the past, E3 was pretty much the only show around, more or less. But over the years, not only have there been more conferences where announcements are made, but a lot of devs make their own announcements on their own schedules. So instead of having this one enormous event that everyone looks forward to and gets all the hype is increasingly diluted throughout the year, making it less special when it comes to E3. But let's get into the news now, starting with some very quick World of Warcraft news. In case you didn't see our video earlier this week, the next WoW expansion leaked over the weekend, Dragonflight, and we got a video with the full story over here. In other news, a new Monkey Island game has been revealed, Return to Monkey Island, helmed by Ron Gilbert, co-creator of the first 2 Monkey Island games. Return to Monkey Island is a follow-up to Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, and while Ron Gilbert was not involved with Monkey Island 3, it has been confirmed that this new title doesn't strike Monkey Island 3 from the canon, or shoot it out of a cannon either. The original voice of Guybrush Threepwood is making a return, and this title is releasing sometime this year. In other news, remakes of Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2 in development by the original creators, Remedy Entertainment, and published by Rockstar. As a big fan of The Matrix, I remember playing the first Max Payne and experiencing bullet time for the first time in a video game. I loved Max Payne just on account of that. Plus, who can't love Mr. Scowly Face here? In other news, Activision Blizzard is once again making headlines, and it's actually not bad news. This week, the company announced a plan to convert all 1,100 of its US temporary and contract quality assurance testers to full-time employees, with access to full benefits and a pay raise to at least $20 an hour. Now, unfortunately, this won't apply to anyone at the Activision subsidiary Raven Software, whose employees had gone on strike in late 2021 after a bunch of QA workers did not have their contracts renewed, and a unionization process began in 2022. Activision Blizzard said that the Raven QA workers would not be getting the pay raise, quote, due to our legal obligations under the National Labor Relations Act. And while the company didn't explicitly cite this clause, it is true that as per the NLRA, it would be illegal for Activision Blizzard to offer workers a raise as a bribe to stop them from unionizing. And given the timing of this, it would be difficult for the company to argue in court that that isn't what they'd be doing. In Lost Ark news, the devs released a roadmap for the next few months. April will see the release of the Glaivier, a martial artist advanced class, known in other regions as the Lance Master, which has been highly anticipated by a lot of players. We'll also get South Vern, the highest item level continent in the game, and a Phaeton power pass that will get your character to Phaeton and item level 960. In May, we'll get the Destroyer, an advanced class for the Warrior, Trial Guardian raids, which are weekly Guardian raids with better rewards, more hairstyles, and better loot dismantling. Also, tentatively in May, we may also see the release of the Descaluda Guardian raid and the Valentine Legion raid. We also got this week new Prime gaming rewards, including a 5-day Crystalline Aura, a Silver Combat Raptor mount, and an Amethyst Shard pack. In Diablo news, starting with a quick reminder about the Diablo 4 leak that happened after last week's news video. In short, a World of Warcraft achievement was data mined that spoke of a Diablo 4 Collector's Edition mount. And I suggest you check out the full video on all the details, as well as speculation on the implications that this may have on a release date. In Diablo 3 news, we learned the start date for Season 26, April 15th, with patch 273 releasing on April 12th. As a reminder, Season 25 ends on April 10th. We also got some finalized patch notes that are making big changes to the new endgame feature coming in Season 26, Echoing Nightmares. The changes to the Echoing Nightmares include monsters from the Echoing Nightmares no longer drop gold, items, or health globes. The loss of health globes hurts a little bit for some support setups especially. Adjusted the damage done by exploding lunatics and meteors to be more deadly. That's fine. Adjusted meteor and fallen lunatic molten damage to be physical. Adjusted the difficulty of tiers 100 plus. Now we don't know what this means. Is this going to be more difficult, less difficult? I'm inclined to think more difficult, but we're not sure. Replaced the shield pylon with a speed pylon. This is huge. This has tremendous implications for hardcore. The shield pylon is how hardcore players would survive an Echoing Nightmare. Now it's unclear how they will do so. You cannot teleport out of an Echoing Nightmare, and the only way for it to end is for you to die or to get overwhelmed. So maybe they're going to implement something where you don't actually lose your character if you die on hardcore in here. That's the only solution I can really see. Otherwise, as a hardcore character, it just doesn't feel worth doing these. Next bullet point, adjusted the XP rewarded by Echoing Nightmares to be aligned with Greater Rift turn-in rewards. Again, it's not too clear what this means. Is this going to be a buff or a nerf to the XP? It feels like it's going to be a nerf, but we'll have to see when the season starts. Reduced the Echoing Nightmare closing timer to 30 seconds, that's fine. Prevented Echoing Nightmares from being opened in games lower than level 70, that's fine. And adjusted the drop rate of Petrified Screams from Greater Rift Guardians. So on PTR, the drop rate was 1-to-1. You do 1 Greater Rift, you get 1 Petrified Scream, and therefore can do 1 Echoing Nightmare. Or if you're in a party of 4, then you can do 4 Echoing Nightmares per every 1 Greater Rift. So it sounds like they are definitely nerfing the drop rate. I mean, they're not being explicit about it, but I could only imagine they're nerfing the drop rate. And a lot of these adjustments, taken in a vacuum, are positive changes. I'm a bit concerned about how they're all coming together and whether this is going to over-nerf Echoing Nightmares to the point that now they'll be going from the thing that you want to be doing because they're so rewarding and so accessible to something that is not worth doing. Again, because we don't have details, we'll have to see when the season launches. But for instance, the removal of the shield pylon is really good for making these more engaging. The problem with the shield pylon was that the meta strategy in an Echoing Nightmare was you get to wave 150. The waves could go on for thousands and thousands if you're willing to stay in one for hours. But the meta was you go to 150 and then you fail and you get the reward, and it's a huge amount of XP. And you can do that run in about 2.5 minutes. So as you're clearing the waves, you activate the shield pylon to basically give yourself invulnerability for the remainder of the Echoing Nightmare, and it's going to be the time during which it's the most challenging. So pop on that shield and now any challenge is gone. Now all these interesting mechanics are irrelevant because you can't die. You don't have to dodge the meteors, you don't have to dodge the lunatics, you don't have to respond really to anything going on because you can't die. This made them become very repetitive and dull, so take away the shield pylon and now we actually have to react to the mechanics. That is a positive change for making these more fun and engaging. Again, hardcore aside, the easiest solution here is just make it that you can't actually lose your character if you die in hardcore. However, not only did they do that, it also seems like they are increasing the difficulty of tiers 100 plus. Already with the loss of the shield pylon, it's going to be much more challenging. So it's possible they mean they're making it easier. I doubt it, but it's possible. It also feels like they're making these less common of drops. So imagine if this activity is now becoming significantly more challenging, becoming much more rare to access. And again, they're also adjusting the XP reward, so imagine it's also going to reward less XP. All these things together are going to heavily dissuade people from running these. All those individual things are things I would have agreed with. Again, make them more rare, absolutely. They're so rewarding and they can be done so quickly and they're relatively repetitive, so you want to make them more rare. That's a good change. Removing shield pylon, good change. Maybe you don't make the XP so overwhelmingly rewarding that people are just going to run this 2-minute run for the entire day. Sure. I'm just a bit concerned about an overcorrection happening here. So we'll have to see when season goes live, where we land, and hopefully if it is an overcorrection, the devs will be open to within the first week rebalancing to ensure this is still an activity that everyone wants to do and not just do a few times in order to get your augments and that's it. Another concern here is in the bigger picture. Seasons 24 and 25 were seasons of immense power creep with ethereal items and soul shards, and people loved that. People love power. But what people feel more strongly about, rather than gaining power, is losing something that you've given them. And so, without there being some kind of crazy power creep feature in Season 26, or any evident one, a lot of players are kind of down on Season 26 already. The thing is, there actually is or was a power creep feature. It just wasn't sexy and obvious like soul shards, like ethereals, and that was the insane amount of paragon we'd be able to grind via how rewarding Echoing Nightmares are XP-wise. So in Season 26, assuming no changes would have been made to Echoing Nightmares, everyone would be hitting higher paragon than ever before. And that's how that power creep would come in, but that's not some very obvious and again exciting feature the way a soul shard or an ethereal is. And now my concern is if you even take this away now, which we don't know again until the season starts, if you take that away as well, now no one's going to have any chance of hitting anywhere close to their previous GRs that they were hitting in the previous seasons, which is going to be a major dissuading factor for a lot of people to even bother trying. Now, in addition to the Echoing Nightmare changes, we are seeing some changes to Mystic Ally, Earth Ally. The boulder speed has been increased, minor tweaks that are going to make this rune even more viable. So between the nerf to Fire Ally and the tweaks to Earth Ally is becoming an increasingly viable option in Season 26. For the Barbarian, they're also making a tweak to Ariat's Law. It's going to generate more Fury now, which is going to make the Rift Guardian fights a little less unpleasant by regenerating your Fury faster. We've got a video on the new Rhykker build, which is pretty fun. That video went up a couple days ago, and the tier list video with the best builds for Season 26 will release next week. Stay tuned. In other Diablo 3 news, Kimberly LeCrone formally announced that she has been the lead artist on Diablo 3 since around Season 22, so roughly a year now. Kimberly LeCrone, aka Vayflare, has had quite a journey within Blizzard. She started off as a community manager in 2009 for World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, and Heroes of the Storm. Then she became a media artist in the cinematics and video departments in 2015, and then in 2020 she became an artist on the Diablo team. The increase in new art assets we've seen over the past year or two can be attributed to her. For instance, this new portrait reward for Season 26, the Rakkus Remembrance Portrait. Rakkus was the first king of Westmarch, and his sigil was a wolf, so it's a very lore-friendly portrait. And lastly, in Diablo Immortal news, a new interview with German website MaiaNMMO released, with game director Wyatt Cheng and principal game designer Joe Grubb. In the interview, they talk about the campaign, social systems, and what's changed throughout the alpha and beta periods. They stated that there's still a lot of beta feedback that they're implementing, with small reworks still coming to the Cycle of Strife, and a greater focus on clans, for instance. They clarified in the interview that no loot will be locked exclusively to PvP, so players will not feel forced to play PvP. They want the game to appeal to different types of gamers, from PvE to PvP, casual, hardcore. They said the campaign content is about 10 hours, but in practice it will take longer than 10 hours to complete, because that's just for the actual campaign content. You're going to reach points while going through the campaign where you have to stop and level up through side content before progressing. And they promised that more content, bosses, raids, all that would release in the future. If you can read German, I'll link the interview in the description below. And if you can't read German, well, I'm still linking it, so viel Glück. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video, in which we discussed the release deadline that Diablo Immortal is running up against. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon, and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.